God made a life-changing decision about you, and that decision has already begun to move things in ways you cannot yet see. Hear that again. God made a life-changing decision about you. Not someday, not maybe, but a divine choosing that shifts how your story will unfold. If you have felt unseen, overlooked, worn out, or like your life has been on hold, lean in for this. This word is for the one who has stayed up at night asking, "Does anybody notice?" This is for the one who has tucked away their song because the world was not ready. This is for you. You know the ache, the empty seat at the table, the unanswered call, the prayers that felt like they vanished into silence. You have carried disappointments like heavy stones, portfolio of good intentions gathering dust, doors that seemed to close just when you were learning to walk through them. You have wondered whether your pain was punishment or proof that your life didn't matter. Maybe you believed the lie that because no one applauded, your work didn't matter. Maybe you began to think that God had forgotten you. If this is already touching your heart, if you feel that quiet recognition deep inside, take a moment. And if you want to be part of this community that holds to words of hope, quickly tap, like, and subscribe so others who need this can find it. That simple click helps this message reach someone else who is waiting. Listen, the silence you felt was not God turning away. The nights you cried were not erased. The small, unnoticed acts of faith you performed in secret, the prayers whispered between breaths, the choices to be kind when it would have been easier not to. None of it was wasted. God keeps a record of those moments. There is a book, not one of condemnation, but one of careful attention. He saw the tears. He saw the faithfulness. He catalogued the patience. He has been preparing you. Think for a moment of Hannah, a woman whose name means grace. She was a woman who knew the sting of being overlooked, the gnaw of desperate longing. She prayed from the depths and was misunderstood by those closest to her. Yet her long season of waiting was not empty. In the silence, God shaped a mother whose song reshaped a nation. Hannah's sorrow was turned into purpose. Her waiting became the womb of blessing. The same pattern is in your life. Hidden pain that becomes public purpose. Think of Moses, tending flocks in exile, away from the palace and the crowd. He had once seen the oppression of his people and acted in a way that forced him into the wilderness. For 40 years he learned patience, leadership, humility. Those desert years were not merely punishment or punishment's echo, they were training grounds. The solitude taught him to listen, to steward responsibility, to lead when the hour came. Your long season alone, whether it's been years of quiet service, small acts that no one applauded, or seasons of being sidelined, is forming you for authority you have yet to claim. Remember David, anointed as a boy, yet hidden among sheep. He wrote his most intimate songs in exile, in caves, in waiting. His heart was sharpened when he had every reason to give up. The experience of hiding, of being pursued, of being underestimated, was the very thing that gave weight to his worship and wisdom when he later sat on the throne. Your trials are not proof of your failure. They are the soil in which the roots of your destiny take hold. Hear me. The pattern of Scripture is not mythic luck. It is the consistent alchemy of invisible preparation becoming visible blessing. The hidden season is preparation, not punishment. The quiet years are a kind of schooling. The pruning you are experiencing is not God's rejection, but God's refinement. Now let's name another reality. Opposition often marks destiny. The enemy does not usually waste effort. Spiritual opposition is a strange compliment. When you start to move toward what God intends, you will notice resistance. It may show up as criticism, relational fractures, delays, or inner discouragement. It may feel like 100 small arrows fired at once. But the presence of opposition is often an indicator that you are on a path that matters. The very thing that seeks to silence you signals that you have influence to wield. Do not mistake the fight for disqualification. The enemy attacks the ones who will change things. This is where understanding matters. There is a spiritual logic at work. Pruning cuts away what will hold back fruit. The desert removes the distractions that would dilute your calling. Opposition clarifies intent and steels resolve. None of these are pleasant on the front end. None of them feel fair in the moment, but they are purposeful on the back end. What looks like loss is preparation for gain. What looks like a setback is rehearsal for victory. And God is not absent in any of it. He keeps a record. He notices every quiet sacrifice. He writes down your tears and your midnight prayers. That record is not some distant ledger of trivia. It is the archive of what He will use to validate you in the light. There is a season coming when hidden things will be brought into the open and given dignity. Your story will be retold with the name of the one who carried you through it. Nothing will be wasted. Nothing. You were chosen, not only to survive, but to become a source of life for others. You were chosen not primarily for fame, but for faithfulness. Chosenness does not bypass your responsibility. It invites it. It means you are entrusted with a task, a story, a stewardship. It means God has decided to form you for a certain kind of fruit. The invitation is to receive that calling and to respond with perseverance and trust. Perhaps you ask, what exactly is God's decision about me? The decision is multifaceted. First, God decided to make your hidden work visible. He decided to turn the small seeds you planted into a harvest. He decided to transform the scars into maps that will guide others. He chose to make your testimony a tool for healing. He decided to bring clarity where there was confusion, motion where there was stagnation, vindication where there was shame. This is not a promise of an instantaneous fix to every difficulty, but it is a sovereign move to redirect the arc of your story toward fruitfulness. There is a difference between promising you a shortcut and declaring a sovereign intention. God's choice is an intention with power and purpose. He will move, but that movement often requires your courage in the waiting. There is an economy of partnership here. God acts and you respond. That response can be small and faithful, a simple "I receive," a quiet obedience, a courageous step forward. These are not magic words that command outcomes on their own, but they open your heart to alignment with what God is doing. You may feel unqualified, and that's normal. The very people God called were not superhuman. They were people who learned to trust. Moses stammered. Hannah was in desperate grief. David wrestled with doubt and fear. Your feelings of inadequacy do not disqualify you. They make room for grace. God's decision was not based on your perfection, but on His purpose. He chooses the willing, not the finished. The invitation is to step into the readiness He is cultivating within you. Imagine for a moment a seed planted in darkness. It breaks, it bends, it pushes through earth that resists it. The pressure causes the seed to split, to shed its old shell. The very struggle is what allows it to grow. If the seed were pampered, if it never experienced the necessary compression, it would never emerge as the plant God intended. Your hidden season is that compression. Your trials are the soil pressing around the seed. The life that emerges will be different because of what it endured. The struggle is not theft, it's training. And there is a harvest. It may not arrive on your timetable. It may come in ways you did not predict. It might show up as a restored relationship, an unexpected opportunity, a word that heals someone because you know how it feels to be broken. The shape of your vindication will reflect the texture of your journey. God does not erase the story to make it palatable. He redeems it to make it powerful. There will be moments when the world tries to define you by what it sees, by lack, by delay, by what you do not yet possess. Refuse that shorthand. The world is not the final editor of your life. God is. He has the final say, and His decision about you carries weight. The labels you have been given are not your identity. the identity stamped on you by God is. So how do you live while you wait for the visible shift? There are simple spiritual rhythms that align you with what God is doing. Keep faithfulness small and consistent. Do the next right thing. Honor the small callings. Steward the gifts you have been given. Pray honestly and not with platitudes, but with raw truth. Worship even when the hometown does not recognize your song. Serve quietly without craving applause. These acts of faithfulness will serve as both training and authentication when the moment of revelation arrives. Be wise in community. Seek those who will encourage you, not flatter you. Surround yourself with people who remind you of God's truths when your memory fails. At the same time, guard your inner life carefully. Not every critic deserves your attention. Not every voice needs a platform in your heart. Learn to discern. Test every claim about your future against God's revealed character, compassionate, just, and purposeful. When the enemy opposes you, do not be surprised. Resistance is often the mark of significance. When discouragement whispers that you are irrelevant, tell it what God has already declared. You were chosen. When obstacles multiply, remember that pruning often precedes fruit. When relationships fall apart, trust that God sometimes removes what would derail your destiny. These things are hard. They are real losses. But they are also signals that something larger is being formed inside you. I want to speak directly now to the part of you that is tired of proving yourself. Hear this. God did not set you aside because you failed him. He saw what others overlooked. He has been working in corridors you never entered. He knows the full ledger of your life, including the small, sacrificial acts that no one recorded. Those tiny, faithful minutes matter to God. He will honor them. Here is the central declaration. God has decided to bring revelation and movement to your life. This is not a casual thought. It is a decisive act of grace. He is turning what was hidden into what is seen. He is taking what was small and making it weighty. He is aligning circumstances, opening doors, and preparing people who will carry your testimony forward. Expect a shift. Expect a rearrangement. Expect vindication that honors the journey, not erases it. As this unfolds, you will be asked to keep walking. The path will not always be clear, but keep going. Your job is not to force the breakthrough, but to remain faithful in the places you already inhabit. Your job is to say yes to the next step, to lift your eyes when discouragement would have you stare at the ground, to hold to the promise when your hands want to drop it. Faith without persistence is incomplete. God's decision requires your endurance. There will be a time when people will ask, "How did this happen?" And the answer will be the testimony of your quiet obedience. Your story will be a map for someone else who is in the dark. Your scars will become signposts. The very things that made you feel small will become the means by which God brings others into hope. That is the beauty of divine economy. Pain is never wasted. It becomes fertilizer for blessing. Now I invite you into a simple posture of receiving. This is not legally transactional or magical. It is a decision of the heart to align with what God has already decided. Quietly, wherever you are, say inside, "I receive." Say it as an affirmation of trust, not as a demand that God must perform on your schedule, but as an opening of your life to his movement. If you want to make this public in the comments and encourage others who are on the same path, write, "I receive" below. And let this be a community of expectation and mutual uplift. There are practical things to do as you receive. Keep a small journal of gratitude and of the small echoes of God's favor that appear. Record dreams, not to make them master controllers of your life, but to track the patterns of God's voice. Keep showing up to the tasks before you, because faithfulness is the currency God uses to confirm calling. Speak well of yourself in the way you let others speak to you. Refuse the narrative of shame. When opportunities come, evaluate them prayerfully, not fearfully. Ask trusted companions who will help discern with both honesty and compassion. Expect trial even as you expect blessing. That sounds paradoxical, but it's how growth often works. The refining process continues even as the harvest begins. God sometimes brings a harvest, not to give you comfort alone, but to give you a platform for greater stewardship. The more visible your life becomes, the more disciplined you must be with the gifts you receive. Humility and gratitude are not incidental. They are necessary. Remember, God's decision is not about making you a trophy of circumstance. It is about making you an instrument of redemptive purpose. When your story is visible, let it point to the one who walked with you through the dark. Let your testimony be generous. Let it become a doorway for others to enter into hope. You might wonder about timing. Do not be anxious about the exact season. God's timetable is not our clock, but His timing is wise. Instead of asking when, ask, how should I be faithful now? The question will keep you from frantic maneuvers and orient you towards steady obedience. Steady obedience positions you for the surprise of God's timing. There will be moments when you must forgive, perhaps yourself, perhaps others. Forgiveness is not optional for those who will carry light into dark places. Unforgiveness binds you to the past and narrows the pathways God wants to open. Make forgiveness a daily discipline. It does not negate pain, it liberates power. Let me speak plainly. Your life matters. You were chosen. The choosing is not a luxury for some spiritual elite. It is an invitation to ordinary people who respond to extraordinary grace. You are not being prepared to impress people. You are being prepared to serve people. Your influence will look less like celebrity and more like compassionate authority. You will be known for how you love, how you persevere, how you lift others when they are falling. As you continue, keep watch for two signs that a transition is near. First, doors begin to open that were previously closed. Not every door is a divine door, but a pattern of open doors that align with your calling is a sign of divine movement. Second, you will begin to receive confirmation in the form of people who understand your heart and help you carry it forward. Those who once ignored you may become advocates. Those who wounded you may become witnesses to your endurance. Both signs confirm that God is moving to make your hidden things visible. I want you to hear this promise. Nothing you have done in faith will be forgotten. God remembers the small kindnesses, the honest prayers, the choices made when no one was watching. Those things are the threads God weaves into a tapestry that reveals His faithfulness. Your life will not be erased. It will be retold with grace. Before we close, let me name the posture that will help you remain aligned with this decision of God. First, accept the truth that God chose you. Let the words, "you were chosen," sink into your bones. Repeat them when doubt whispers. Second, remain faithful with what you have. Do not allow the seeming smallness of your present to make you feel small. Third, embrace the refining. If pruning is happening, thank God for the way it clears the path to fruit. Fourth, guard your heart from bitterness. Release what holds you back. Fifth, live expectantly. Expect movement, but also expect to play your part in that movement. If this word has touched you, if your heart is quietly opening to receive what God has decided, write "I receive" in the comments as a declaration of faith. Share this message with someone who needs the reminder that their hidden work matters. Subscribe for more encouragement that helps you walk out what God is doing in your life. We are a community learning to live in the posture of expectancy. May you go forward with a new dignity in your step, knowing that God did not miss a thing. He saw your tears. He saw your faith. He saw your quiet service. He chose you. He is making a way where there seemed to be no way. The hidden seed will sprout. The desert will bloom. What was pruned will bear fruit. The enemy's resistance will not have the final word. God's decision about you is moving everything toward revelation, not ruin. Receive this benediction. The God who notices will finish what he has begun in you. He will make your private faith public in ways that honor both the journey and the one who sustained you. When the world asks how it happened, let your answer be the testimony of ordinary obedience met by extraordinary grace. Walk in that truth today. You were chosen. You are being prepared. The best chapters of your story are still being written.